Hello, today we're going to look at multiplying decimals. So we're going to start off with something very simple. Okay, let's start off with 1.2 multiplied by 0.6. Okay, now if I look at this, we have 2 times 6 is 12. Carry the 1. Now I'm going to look at it. 6 times 1 is 6 plus 1 is 7. Now the difference with decimals is we have to look at how many numbers in total are behind the decimal. So the sum of numbers behind the decimal, or sum of digit places. I have 2 numbers behind the decimal. So my answer has to have 2 numbers behind the decimal. So I look at this here. I have 2 numbers now behind the decimal, and here is going to be my answer. Let's look at a second question. Let's try this one here. Let's try 2.34 multiplied by 1.5. Okay? So in order to do this, once again, what I want to do is I'm going to line it up. So I'm going to have 2.34. We're going to multiply that by 1.5. Okay, let's write it out this way. Now we're just going to multiply like normal. So I'm going to have 4 times 5 is 20. Okay? And we're going to carry the 2. 5 times 3 is 15, plus that 2 on top is going to give me 17. Carry the 1. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11. Okay? Now, let's look what's happening here. Now we're done this one, so now let's look at our ones place. We're going to add a 0. We're just ignoring the decimal right now. So we have 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 2 is 2. Now we're going to add these together. We have 0, 1, carry the 1. And then this is going to be 5, so that's 11. And we have 5. And then here we're going to have 3. Now, we have to look how many numbers are behind the decimal. I have 1, 2, 3 numbers behind the decimal, so my answer must have 3 numbers behind the decimal. So I put that decimal right there. And there is my answer. So the key thing when multiplying with decimals is to make sure we have the right numbers behind the decimal. We're going to add the total numbers behind the decimal to know how many numbers are behind the decimal in our answer. Let's try one more quick question. Okay? So let's look at this one here. We're going to have negative 2.4 multiplied by 3.7. Okay? Now I look at this right here. We don't like it put out that way, so I'm going to have to rearrange it in a different way. So once again, I'm going to have 2.4 negative multiplied by 3.7. Multiply just like we normally would. 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times 2 is 14. Plus 2 gives me 16. Okay? Now let's look at my 3's. Since we're moving over, it's like 30s, we're going to add a 0 there. So 3 times 4 is 12. We have to carry a 1. 3 times 2 is 6, and then we have that 1 on top is going to be 7. Okay? Now let's add each of our numbers together. We have 8 plus 0 is 8. 6 plus 2 is 8. Then we have a 7. And how many numbers are behind the decimal? 1, 2. So my answer has to have 2 numbers behind the decimal. So my answer is 7.88. And we had a negative there, so my answer must also be negative. So it's negative 7.88 because a negative multiplied by a positive is a negative. And that is how we multiply decimals.